Hey guys, Andy N, spoken label, back in the house. Sunday evening, yes. It's raining. Yeah, it's just started bloody raining after up here. So, and I'm going to ask my friend in a minute, has it been raining where he is? But we had a gorgeous, steaming hot day around here, and it's just started raining. So, but anyway, we're up in Scotland today, and we've got a good friend of mine. Not spoken to him for donkey's ages. We've got the fantastic Finn Hall. Now, I've not had Finn on here for well over 3 years, and we met over lockdown, Finn, didn't we? Originally, we were trying to work out where before.
Yeah, we did on a Zoom, one of many Zooms that went on at that point. Probably, as you say, probably Randy's Zoom. I'd imagine it would be.
Yeah, I think it was. Because I know I met Clive on there as well, Clive Osman and Nick. I can't remember if I met you on their night or Randy's. It was something around that territory, and back then, wasn't it? So, but yeah, so anyway.
One of that too. When I got to more Zooms than I can get to nowadays.
I don't attempt it as much nowadays, honestly. So, but yeah, I know there's so many going around. So, okay, mate. What we'll do is give us the recap then, where all your creativity came from originally, and then we'll go into the bits and pieces I know you're up to at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been writing like a lot of folk, not quite as young as a lot of people, do it when I was a kid. I was about 18 when I first started writing, and it was just like song lyrics that came in my head because I can't sing, can't play an instrument. I just wrote the words down. It's the song I was singing, and it kind of just developed from that. And I think I remember listening to Leonard Cohen album and the famous Blue Raincoat song in particular, which is a huge favorite of mine. And I thought, whoa, yeah, I could write. Wonder if I could write like that. I mean, didn't try to imitate him, obviously, but it was a great inspiration, that song, to how to formulate words and kind of make stories, if you like. And then, it kind of evolved from that. I make less story type poems now than I used to, but yeah, that's kind of where it started. And as I said before, I sent away a poem to Sounds music paper and back in 1972, and they published it in 1972, which is the first published poem. And that was about 25 years before the next one was published. But that was it.
Yeah, fun. Yeah, and then obviously, like, if people are wondering, I was like, I know definitely. I've been on quite a few of your Blot from the Blue nights as well. So tell people, obviously, quickly recap then where Blot from the Blue came from. Then I know you
Well,
did. Did you do it in person originally? Didn't you? Or am I imagining things?
no, it just before COVID, I used to host storytelling nights
That was it.
in nearby Aberdeen, based inspired by the Moth podcasting shows from America, which is like real people. And my tagline was ordinary people, extraordinary stories. Just people telling their own story, any kind of story, whatever, as long as it's true as they can remember it. And COVID put a paid to that. It paid just as it was getting big, and I was having to move to my went to third venue due to the size and the amount of people coming along. And then COVID just put paid to that. And then we discovered Zoom, like, 90% the rest of the world did during the first lockdown. And I just thought, well, I could do that. And I just started off a Zoom night. It was once every 3 weeks and then went to once every month. And the title, Like a Blot from the Blue, it came from an old poem that I'd written a long, long time ago, which was called Like a Blot from the Blue. Not a very good poem, but I like the title, so I just stuck with that.
Yeah.
And
No.
then
Okay.
it just got bigger and bigger, and it's still going strong. And it's like I put it as like Scotland's biggest international Zoom show, because it is, because I do get people coming from literally all over the world, or have had from all over the world, so.
Yeah, you have, because I can full well remember the variety of certain ones I've been to over time. You've had literally, I don't think you've had all four corners of the world in one night, but you certainly must have come close to it.
Well, I think especially in the first, during lockdown, we were having Australia, Canada, Europe, America, that one. So you're getting kind of three most of it, and then the odd Philippine one, I think, came in. I think I haven't had, didn't have any Africa at that point. I've had Central, obviously, and I've never ever had New Zealand. I've never had anybody from New Zealand or South America. I had Central America, but never. There used to be a guy, Rick something or other, called himself Rick the Most, who used to have a early morning for us, like 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning, for a Zoom show from New Zealand. And I tried to get him on once, but it never materialized. So
Yeah, no, understandable. Because it's a time zone difference, it's absolutely lunacy. I can't say any completely with that. But since the last time we spoke, well, on here certainly. I know you had I think it's still going on. Your Poetry in the Park outdoor event as well.
that started, well, when we finally come out of lockdown properly a couple of years ago, I started live, like I bought from the Blue, in a bar in Aberdeen. And then they decided they were going to charge me for the night because they weren't making enough over the bar. It's poetry, you either drink or you don't drink. And so I found another venue. And then last year, after my second festival, when I held a festival in my own village, I managed to connect with a nearby park who were having a music thing that weekend. Had a couple of acts on it, that as part of the festival. And then in the park on the Sunday, I had an outdoor with about half a dozen poets reading. And I wasn't tired because I was working my own, the indoor one here. But apparently it was a great success and people liked it and people stopped as they're going past, casual, not everybody did, but the performers liked it. And then one of the performers, my friend Birgit Itzy, she decided, she thought, it's a great, we should do that in Aberdeen. Now, people shouldn't, and you know me, people shouldn't say to me, hey, I know. And I went, okay, let's do it. And before she'd even finished speaking, more or less, I had organized a few people to come and she had got spoke to the cafe at the park so we could hold it outside in their area, although it's a public area, and they've been really good. And so we've started at the end of last August, Poetry in the Park, and it's outside a cafe called the Conversation Cafe in Union Terrace Gardens in Aberdeen. And they're really kind because if it's raining bad, they let us inside and use their premises and their PA system. If it's outside, we just go for it. And, sometimes people stop and sometimes don't. And sometimes the traffic gets a bit noisy. And occasionally there was at one point, in the first one, she's a really quiet spoken poet. And there was a crow in a nearby tree constantly going, quack, quack. But it's still good. We still get regular people and sometimes new people. We get about, it's not huge, but it's just a nice about 10 people every Sunday. And that's the last Sunday of the month in Aberdeen. You get about 10 people come into that. Regularly, you get more coming in and out and things. So it's hoping to get more when the summer comes. People kept going, yeah, once the weather picks up, But
You've
the rest
noticed
of us
words
have done,
if the weather picks up, yeah.
yeah, the rest of us have done it through, all weathers. Because you've got to do that to keep it going and to build it. And we have, because it's two hosts and we have it in a flexible way. If one can't do it, we can get somebody else. We've had standby hosts as well. Just say to somebody, you want to host it this week with Burkett? They go, yeah. Give people a chance to do that who wouldn't normally do stuff like that. They just usually, speak at the open mic,
Yeah, I think it's a great idea what you do with this one straight away. So, as I say, certainly if I lived more local, I'd be down there certainly supporting you now. I think it's brilliant. Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant with it, certainly. So now, next thing I want to talk to you about is, obviously this has come up since the last time we had you on Spoken Label as well, is the films you're doing now, aren't you? You look at spoken word films. Now,
Yeah,
I've
I love doing that. It started just again at the end of the first lockdown. At that, I actually went to pick my car up. I've been in a garage about 15 miles away since lockdown, and I went to pick it up, and we had to sit in the car showroom, but we were sitting in a circle, almost, almost like people were there, meter apart, whatever, in a circle, the whole kind of thing. And it felt like I was in an AA meeting or something, just the way we were sitting. And I kind of just thought, I said that to somebody, like, oh, I thought it was in a therapy session or something. And it just came out for that. I wrote a poem about it, and then I think it was Kathy Carson wrote one back, and a few other people. And I said, I tell you what, let's make a film of this, sit in a chair if you can, and in a room as if, you're going through therapy, and just explain, whatever, real or not, whether it's true or not, just, the angst of being a poet. And we know that some poets have extreme angst, and others really don't and don't care that much, but pretend you've got angst all the time. And they did, and it just snowballed from there. And I just get more ideas for everyone, and I get different things and connected with a lot more people. And I've got a new film, not an app, a new film site that I subscribed to, but it's got a lot more things you can do with the film, a lot more effects and things with it. And so I think now I've done eight or nine films.
Yeah.
They're all usually about an hour. They're too long to be a short film, but they're too short to be a long film.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just give people, and the more people that do it and see them, I give them carte blanche to be as creative as they can within their field, as opposed to, if they want to just sit like this and recite to the screen, fine. But if you want to be creative, they don't even have to be on the screen. Just make their own little short within the long short.
Yeah.
I do say to them, look, it will be edited if there's too much talking going on. We want to hear the poem. We don't want to hear the story of the poem. We don't want to hear all. It was like a tennis spoken night, we all prefer if a poet just goes up and goes, here's a poem I wrote at the, or whatever. You got 3 minutes slot, and you don't want a 5-minute explanation of the 3-minute poem. So, but it gets edited back. And they keep, sometimes I put one of them out with the extra on it as well, because it was interesting, like the director's cut and such. But
Yeah. Yeah.
mainly I was just like, boom, as you do what you want with it, and that's it. And I've one more in my head. I'm planning next year, but next March, to just take time out. I've been like 5 years of just doing this pretty constant. And I'm going to take a few months out. I'm going to stop the Zoom for a few months, and I'm not going to do any films. I'm just going to step back for a while and just recharge and rethink. But I've got one more I want to do, which is it's going to be called Voices of England. I did one last year, Voices of Scotland, which was I got a poet from each historic county of Scotland, not the new counties, which is only about 10 or 11 of them, but I got the older one where there was 30 counties. But managed to find a poet from each of there, got them to film themselves making a film, and I'm going to do one now, end of this year, sometime, with Voices of England. Got a poet from each county of England. Now, not historic counties, because there's enough in the counties just now, and try to find a poet. And that's a challenge, is finding a poet from some of the counties that might not be quite so easy to get somebody from,
Yeah. Give me a shout over that. I could probably help you out. I don't think of a few people to answer straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's why
great.
I struggled with two for the Voices of Scotland, and they were both in the borders, and it was historic Selkirkshire and Berwickshire. You thought they'd be easy, but I couldn't find anyone. I even emailed schools. You got a kid to do something, but got no reply. So I ended up a couple of American poets who has family ties to the borders and allocated them. I mean, they weren't have to. You didn't have to write about the county. You know, the poem could be anything you want. It would just, you know, I'm representing this county, this place. You know. So we got
Yeah,
two Americans
wow.
in it. They're
Yeah,
challenging to do that. It's really challenging to do that. But I like a challenge. I like a challenge.
yeah, I know exactly what you like about that. We'll come on to that in your book about America in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
couple of questions' time, certainly, because that's a story, certainly with that one, because I know what fun you had with that one. But yeah, the last two films I'm aware of you've done, obviously, was just the Scotland one about St. Andrews, which we've already talked about.
Yeah.
And the other one was, the one that came out recently, was about the beat poet, Gary Snyder. Now, tell us about that then. What made you want to do this one specifically?
A couple of films ago, I did the poem Howl on a film, the Ginsberg poem Howl. And I think it was Michael Snyder suggested, oh, why don't you do that? I was looking for something to do, and he says, why don't you do that? I said, okay. So I looked it up, and I thought, well, okay, that's fine. About 10, I can break it up and give, I could add in a bit to that and a bit to that. And then, if you like, moved the page up on the computer once I found 10, 12 people, whatever it was, and found there was a lot more verses and stanzas and bits to it as well. So I had to find a lot more people for that. And I thought it got me a lot more interesting, and I was going to do another one. And I was looking for a poem from, I think I was going to do Lawrence Ferlinghetti poem, and I just started looking. And again, Michael Sindler says to me, well, why don't you do Gary Snyder? And I went, okay. So I went and bought a Snyder book, basically a complete collection. I thought, well, there's nothing long enough here to do it. I know what I'll do. I'll give people the choice of 2 poems and do 1 poem from that 2 poems and film yourself do it. And it was fascinating. There was some people, there's always some people just get it in by deadline, you know, and which is okay, because what I do is I kind of edit as I'm going along. When I get the poems in, I'll take each section, edit it, and then decide where it's going to fit into the. Unlike the Scotland one, I did it alphabetically, county wise, and I'll do the same with the England one, alphabetically, county wise. But with a poem, you know, with random poems, it's just, yeah, that one will go there, that'll fit after that one, it'll follow after that one. And I had so many people, others wanted to do a bit in it. I thought, I'll have too many, and I'm not going to make the thing like 3 hours long. So I said, I found short poems or lines that he'd written or translated, just 1 or 2 lines or 4 lines maximum. And I says to people, right, do you want to do an audio for this? Not a film, an audio of reading these, and I'll put them in between each main section as it goes along. And yeah, people were great. You know, people just, they're happy to be involved. And this is what I like. I don't have to ask. I just put the idea out and people go, oh, yeah, I'll do that, you know. And it was good. And it was edited because a lot of people don't have equipment to record voices other than their phone and send it as a message. And there's no real way to download a message off your phone voice. So I do a screen record of it.
Oh God, yeah, you would have to,
Save
wouldn't
it.
you? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Then you save it as a file or as a photo, and then you've got to extract the audio from that, you know. So it's just becomes a little bit more trickier, but you kind of got to do that, and you got to make sure that people are speaking clearly and loudly into the phone, and as opposed to having a mic and set up and things like that, you know.
Oh, completely. No, I agree with you completely. There's all of it you're doing, everything like you're doing, and that's it's interesting, like it's the varying of the quality. The recording always comes through in it, and then you get people like me. And the last one I did for you, that Krampus one, and I know I because I'm an ex-actor, I did it about 3 or 4 completely different styles for you. And I started putting weird backdrops on the back of it just to see what I can get away with.
Yeah, but can I get you involved? You know, it doesn't matter how you. I mean, there was one for the Scottish one. a lovely lady up in the Highlands with Mandy Beatty. She wasn't sure how to do anything. And I said, well, you know what, come on Zoom. We'll do a one-to-one Zoom like this, and I'll record it. I'll just record your point when you're doing it. And you know, you can read it, so there's no pressure for anything, you know, you just read it. And it took about 7 or 8 takes. But it was absolutely fine. I thought, no, that's fine. Just, you know, she's reading a poem and she just, yeah, you know what it's like, and you'll, even if you're doing it live and you'll stumble over it a bit, but you'll just carry on. But she wanted it obviously to be right. So we just, okay, we'll stop, do it again, cut it, hit record, and just kept doing it until she was happy with it, you know?
Yeah,
And that's what I
sometimes it
say to
goes that
people.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to take part in the film and you don't have the stuff, we'll do a Zoom. You can, you know, if you can find a background, if you want to put a background, fair enough. Well, I can do, I think now with this new film thing, I can alter backgrounds and remove backgrounds and things as well. So
Oh,
I can do that. You know, I can just take out somebody's background so it's just black.
Oh, I didn't know you did that. That's excellent. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Okay, on to the books, the book projects now then, okay? And I've made notes, and I think it's your last 3. Because there is other ones before that where you did. I know you did 3 volumes of joined up writing. And that was a heck of, that was a great one, that was. I think I'm in 2 of them. And that was great. Where people joined up writing, that's where you give people, like, was it the last line, didn't you, of some text? You want to write something, then it gets passed on to the next person. I think that was joined up writing, wasn't it?
That's what it was. It originally started, it was like, you know, yeah, I gave them the last whole verse in the first book and says take one line from the last at least one word from the last line. But when I came to doing books 2 and 3, I just gave them the last line.
Yeah, that was it.
I didn't give anything to give a clue what the whole verse was about. I just do that. And yeah, that was fun. I did 3 and that's enough, you know, because it got harder and harder to do it. But then Becky Guy, you know Becky Guy, Becky who?
Yes, I do know Becky.
Yeah, she teaches in a university in Grenoble in France, and she asked if she could do one with her students. So she did a very short, she did a short one, maybe about a dozen poems like that with her students. I think she started it, and then a French student. And it was written, it's not all written in English as well, which is really fine. And then she asked me to do the last verse of it. So, I mean, I started the whole project and I ended up finishing it in France, you know. And that last one can be found in the University of Grenoble's website. You know, it's not published, but it's on their website. So,
Yeah, so great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Onto obviously it's the books I want to ask you about anyway, because we've dropped a big hint before about Unite the States of America book, and I don't know what to say about it. I know you had a lot of trouble with this book, didn't you? Was it particularly Ohio, wasn't it? Particularly you had trouble finding somebody to write a poem from that, wasn't it?
No, Ohio was easy. It was Utah.
Utah, that was it.
There was a couple of states when I first got it, the idea to do it. It actually the Voices of Scotland came first as a film, and that was inspired by Damien Donnelly's podcast, because Eat the Storms, because he did once where he got a poet from Ireland, each county in Ireland, in one particular day on their podcast to do that. That's where the Voices came from. So after I did the Voices of Scotland, I thought about the book, and I thought about, I mean, we're all disjointed countries we're living in just now anyway, you know, it's like totally screwed up politics everywhere. And I thought America's particularly screwed up. Well, why don't I try and get a lot of people together that don't know each other, perhaps, and get a poet from each state. Now, the 2 states I thought I'd have a problem with, I don't know why then, would be Alaska and Hawaii. You know, maybe because they're further away from the rest of the mainland. You're thinking, no. But they were quite easy, to tell you the truth. And I just put appeals out on my own page, on I think 2 or 3 American beat pages, like Deborah Kilday's International Beat Poets Society page. Just asking for a poet, you know, from each county. And it literally was first come, first served. You know, you put your name down, whether I know you're not, boom, that's fine. You're the one. I never asked anybody. I never, you know, got a lot of American friends. I never says to them, right, do you want to do it? It was first come, first served. And then if someone couldn't get that state, it could be, you didn't have to live in that state. If you were born in that state, you know, you could have just been born and then left. In fact, Clive and Nick's friend, Chloe Jackie, how I pronounce her name, she messaged me. She says, although she's very English, I was born in, I don't know, it was Missouri or something like that. I was born in Missouri. And I says, sorry, I've got somebody for that already, you know. So you didn't even have to be American, you know. Fucking if Boris Johnson had come in, no, I wouldn't have picked him, even though he was born in New York. But
No, I think we'd avoided him, right? Definitely.
but you know what I mean. And I
Yeah.
did struggle. And the reason I got Utah to start with, someone, and the problem was once you say yes and you agree, and I gave him something like 4 months, because I was busy with other things, 4 months to get a poem. I mean, somebody sent them in straight away, and that's fine. Do something within 4 months, and I messaged them back, and there's people just never replied to messages.
Oh God, yeah.
Don't you hate that? You know, you volunteered, man. Pay attention.
It drives me.
So I lost Utah and I lost Montana as well. And I lost another site, but I had someone in spare for that, and I got that. And even New York, there's millions of poets in New York. And but they came through. I didn't think they were going to, but they came through in the end. I was struggling. So not answer, but she came through. But Utah, I couldn't get Montana. And the day after deadline, I was left with Montana and Utah. And Montana, someone says, "Oh, my daughter lives in Montana." And that'll do. That'll do. You've got a connection there. And we get to the point, you know, have you ever been to Utah? Have you driven through Utah? Almost.
Or do you know where Utah is, basically? I think along those lines, really, to somebody.
Yeah, somebody did actually see the I drove past the border of Utah and seen the sign.
But God,
I ended up my New York choice. Sorry, Elizabeth Torres. She sent me a poem by a brother Utah poet who comes from Utah, but lives in Mexico. Oh, he lived in Mexico. He died. And I says, well, you got permission for this? She says, yeah, I've got it from his wife. So that's what I use. It's like, you've got Dead Man's poem, which is nice. But it gets more complex because Elizabeth actually lives in Copenhagen. She's represented Europe, but she lives in Copenhagen.
Wow.
David was born in Utah, but lived in Mexico with his wife. So and I thought, I love that. It's the internationalness that Blot is famous for, when you can get that 4 different countries connecting, you know, sending a poet to some unknown person, a poem to some unknown person in Scotland, you know. It's it blows my mind, that one. But I was ready to write a poem called "There's No Poets in Utah" for it, to put in for the Utah one. And someone says, we should write it anyway, which I did. But yeah, so it was a long way round to get Utah. And there's a friend of my wife. I know one person that stays in Utah. It's a school friend. I don't know, but it's a school friend of my wife. And I messaged her. She was in Joined Up Writing. And I messaged her, and she said, yeah, okay, I'll write a poem for you. But she got ill and couldn't do it. So she pulled out at the end as well. So I thought,
blimey, you were cursed. You were definitely cursed at that stage, mate. Good grief. Oh,
But it
just
was a challenge. It was really, really, I give yourself these challenges, and when they come to fruition, it's just, it's such a good feeling when you get it done, and you go, it's there, it's done, it's sorted, you know.
no, I agree. Really completely do. That's why all the creativity I do, I'm always doing base projects myself. You do. You're just looking for it, something to say to, oh, I did that. Move on.
Yeah,
I've done that. I'm proud of myself. Yeah, no, get completely with it. I think that's probably the hardest project I think I've known you have, because I saw the trouble you had on social media in that one. I wouldn't have envied you.
yeah,
So
yeah. It was quite difficult. It was quite difficult. But it was worth it. It was, you know,
it's a great book. It's a great book. She sent it over to me before, and it's well worth people checking it out, because it's. How did you come to the order with that book then? Was that pretty easy to map out, was it, when you got all the pieces in?
I just did it alphabetically.
Ah, fair enough then.
I
Oh,
was actually going to do it. I had a list. I just deleted off my computer yesterday. I had a list of the states in their order of succession to the United States. You know, the first one and then to the very last ones, and I was going to do it like that. But then I thought, no, I'm just going to do it A to W all the way through, and then put the capital DC at the very end as well. You know, although it's not a state, it's, you know, it's as part of mainland America. And a few people actually suggested, are you going to? They said, oh, are you going to do the protectorates and things like Puerto Rico and things? I go, yeah, but where do I stop? You know, Puerto
yeah,
Rico, I know it wants to become want to become the 51st state. We know that, but it's not. And I probably could have got a Puerto Rico point, but then someone says, I want to say, yeah, but what about, I could have went, you know, what about the Caribbean islands that's part of America? Aye, further South Caribbean, you know.
oh yeah,
Uh, no, I'm just stopping. I'm keeping it to the 51 poems. It's nice and simple, you know.
yeah. It's a lot less hassle for you straight away. I think otherwise you'd end up, like you said, there's only so much you can do with this sort of thing, project like that, and it's rightly doing that to make your head explode. And I get you completely with it. So, which is ironic, really, because your second full length poetry book is called Over 1800 Years in the Making. No, which I absolutely love the story behind it. And tell people about this then, where the idea for the title came from.
First of all, the idea came from a book because my wife says, you're always doing these collections, these, you know, other people's poems. Why don't you do one? I mean, I've had one out of me when it was done by Runcible Spoon quite a few years ago, but I've deliberately not put out one because I just enjoy getting other people's poems together, you know. And my wife says, why don't you put out one of your own? And I thought, yeah, okay, why not? And I had no idea what titles could be, and I just thought, I'm still working at collecting poems. I think I've got it there. Working on the poems and just seeing which ones I want, and you know, it's mainly stuff that's been written in the past 3 years. And but the title came from, I've done a lot of research into my family tree, and till about 4 years ago, maybe, I got back to 1700s, maybe something like that, for some lines, for one line. And I was out with my wife, a friend in a nearby village, and there was an advert outside a church saying a talk on the works on the life of Isabel Blood. I can't remember her name now. Isabel something or other. And I thought, oh, I recognize that name. And I went back and looked in my family tree and discovered it was my 7th or 8th times
Wow.
removed great granny. I knew I had her. Now, when you find, if you've got someone in your lineage, it's what's it titled, but you know, that kind of upper classness or whatever, especially going back a bit, it's easier to find records because there's records of whatever everywhere for the posh people of the past, you know. And so I found this website, typed a name, and I found this website that some guy had put it up, and it's got their family tree. You know, you can, like it's in any website, if it's highlighted, you click on it, you get to the next, and it goes back. And I thought, I'm not going that one. I mean, I could go further and go another line, but I just stuck to one line going all the way back. So it comes from my father's mother's father. So it goes back that line. And it took me right back to Kenneth MacAlpin, who died in the late 800s, who was the first king of Scotland. He was a pick to, it says united the clans of Scotland. It probably went that time, probably slaughtered them all to become one thing. And then his dad is known as well, because it's like MacAlpin, his father was Alpin. It goes with that thing, son of Alpin. It goes back.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then just a few weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, I just thought, let's find out a little bit more about Kenneth MacAlpin and his dad and his granddad. His granddad was called Aed. It's spelled something Aed. It's pronounced Aed. And his father was Achiad the Poisonous.
Oh, what a name! What a name!
I just found out that, and beyond that, there was a whole family lineage that goes back all the way. Now, as someone pointed out, well, maybe some geezer in the Middle Ages decided to make up, these to put it on, right? And just do it. And I kind of think, well, so what? It's there. This is the only proof I have that it might be. And as I jokingly says, well, if you believe in some of the characters in the Bible, surely you can believe in some of my relations, because there's no other proof other than they're written down somewhere. You go back that far, there's no real historical.
Gets harder and harder, yeah, completely.
Yeah, exactly. So I managed to get it back to the very first one, whose it tells you in the book, whose name is something or other, and he was born in 0170, which is a long time ago. I had to open a minute ago, bear with me. And I can't even pronounce half of these names when you go back.
I was just wondering how you could pronounce some of them, because I was looking at it thinking,
Carmen, Carmn, Vjoda, Vjsoda, who was born in 0170. So that's over 80. So, this is where it came from. This is me over 1800 years in the making. I mean, there's billions of people will have, if he's real, have him as their 63rd times great granddad. It's not an exclusive, because
God, yeah.
We all come from there. But the fact is that you can follow it that far back, which is the furthest back I've known anyone to do it. So
yeah, we got to, on my dad's side, I think it's 1088 or something it was, and we hit a brick wall on one point of it, because it then became apparent that there was an outlaw element of my dad's side of the family, and we reckon his name was changed and for some various outlaw reason, and it came Nicholson. So although there is other Nicholsons, definitely other branches. So I know what you mean. So it's that's fascinating. So what made you want to call the book this then? Over 1800 years in the making?
Just no reason. Just because this as it says in the book, this is my forward. Is this this is me and my thoughts and whatever, whether they're real or not. Stapling out that not all my poems are real, although some of them sound like real. It's just the fact that, and I just thought, well, it's me. What does that say? My mind and feelings, some of which are possibly true. And it just comes to that, and it's just coincidental. I was doing the book just as I discovered this, and I thought, that's going to have to be that title, because it's like, it's just me. It's just how I become, through that 18 1,860 odd years in the making or something like that, you know.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. It's a great idea, and it's a great, great book as well. Now, I don't want to go into a lot of books. There's a lot of poems in the book. We could be here till probably midnight going doing a full deep dive on this book, definitely. But I just want to say, first of all, I love the contrast in the first two poems, which were the collector of words, which you are really, with your intro poem, and then like on the editing, which I thought was the second one, which I think is a great counterbalance to that, where previously you're a collector and the editing one was like where you had to throw lots of words away. Really, was that a conscious decision to do those two poems at the beginning of the book?
Yeah, it was deliberate to start. I wanted to start with that thing, the collector of words. I wanted to start with that, and then I thought there was another one I think I was going to put in, but I thought no, I can't remember which one it was, but it's one that's similar kind of thing. But I thought no, two's enough. If I start with that one, and then on editing is just what I wanted, you know. It's just I thought they'll find together. And I think it covers most kind of writers in any way. You know, you've got that, you get the ideas, and then you've got to go, nah, I can't do that. That doesn't work, and you know, you've got to work on that to do. And that's what it is, you know.
Yeah, no, great, really, completely.
In some cases, there's poems that work. Not like my first book where they were all deliberately in deliberate sections and themes. This one's, it's just, I wanted to flow through. There's some that work to go together. Like the ones after that, the 5 short ones after that. I was asked by a Pakistani writer, Anila Bukhari. She publishes stuff, and she asked me, can you write 5 poems? No, can you write 5 poems for me? And I went, yeah. She says, on being blind. And I went, what? I thought, I'm not blind. I need glasses to read, but that's about it. So I just, knocked off 5 poems about being blind and taking different angles on being blind and things like that. And I don't think she's published them, so I've published them first anyway. So
The best way. Somebody goes that way, pieces. Sometimes like Amanda had a publication come through. Oh God, last week it was. Would you believe? And they've been sat on it for 6 years.
wow.
So it does happen. You never know stuff sometimes. No, I get completely with it. So now,
it happens. It happens. You know?
yeah, indeed. So I love the fact on the end of the book when you put in the poems that are written for your brother's art show in York in 2024. Now, obviously, we're going to keep off the formatting problems about you've had with this. We're getting the artwork on there. But tell us about the art show you did for these poems you did for your brother. Then.
Well, my brother, that's what he does. He's a couple of years younger than me, and he lives in New York. He's lived there for about 46 years or something like that. So he's an artist. That's what he does for a living. He's an artist, and he did his first solo show for a while. Not his first one, but his first solo show for a while at the beginning of April. And he was over here beginning of earlier on this year because my mum was in hospital, and he flew over to spend a few days here. Tell me about this show. And I said, if you want, I can write a poem for each of your painting. I could produce a little booklet or something you can sell at the thing and whatever, And he went back home and spoke it over with his manager, who's his wife. And she said, no, well, why don't you write the poems and we'll have a night where we can get a bunch of people in New York to come and read your poems out at the gallery. And I thought, well, yeah, I'm not knocking that, get your own poems read out in New York, And so that's where they came from. And I asked his brother, can I put the photos photo of each painting on this with each poem? And he says, yeah, that'd be fine. But it's just there are formatting problems. I couldn't get all of them to, especially in the longer poems, I couldn't get them all to go on that one page. And I wanted them one in each page. That was splitting the poem up, and it was too much like hard work. And I could have if I made it like a bigger format book, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be more one, as my wife says, you can carry in your pocket, you know. So I've just got the poems. There's 13 poems, 12 of them was painted in the exhibition, and each painting is it's all to do with the environment. It's all to do with big businesses and the environment and things like that. And he's a great artist. And I'm not just saying that because he's my brother. He really is a good artist. You should check his work out. It's on Stephen Hall Art New York or something like that. Just put it in until you find all the paintings on there. And so that's what I did. That's what it is. And I thought I'd just put them at the end in one section, you know.
No, brilliant. No, it was great. It's a great idea doing it that way. So it gives it like it takes a different direction at the end of the book. So no, it made perfect sense to me, mate, completely with it. So okay. Conscious of the time now, obviously, 'cause I want to give you time to read a few poems that's in the second half. But you know what's good. You know what I'm going to ask you next. What's coming up next for you then?
Well, what's coming up next is two more things I want to do. A lot of folk know I'm going to take a few months off at the beginning of spring next year. And I'm going to, before then, I'm going to do another film. It's going to be called Voices of England, where I'm going to try and find one poet from each county in England to film themselves doing a poem and make that into one. I've already got one poet lined up. Robert Punton, speaking to him, and if you come across him, he's
Heard the name, certainly, yeah.
he's Birmingham. I've just come across him this past few months or something. He's a lovely man. He's in a wheelchair, but he's always out in protests and things like that. You know, he's a real activist as well, which I like. You know, and speaking to him about it, and he says, "Oh, I'll be your poet from," I can't remember which county he says he's from. So I've got one lined up. So
Brilliant.
it's
You'd have two for two.
I'm gonna
I'll be a second one if you want me, mate, as well. So
oh, there you go. That's I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do one more book, and it's going to be focused on just people from my part of the world, from Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire, just local poets. You know, going from America to just into the conclave of Aberdeen, the county of Aberdeenshire. You know, it's a big spread out county. It's not as spread out as the Highlands, but you know, it's quite far apart from the south to the north bit of it. But there's within the whole county, there's only a population of I think less than 500,000 people. So it's not a widely populated area up here. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to get a bunch of people, you know, a lot of people I know, obviously, as well. But I'm also going to put it out to the wider Northeast poets to see if they want a poem in it, you know. But that's it. I'm not thinking any more past that. But I've got a head that doesn't stop thinking. I'm genuinely trying to just wind it back a bit so I can just like stop for a bit, you know.
yeah, I think you just sometimes the danger is like if you do so much projects like you're doing, your head can explode. And I know I get that sometimes myself, so
Yeah,
I take time off.
it feels like it. The frustration of whether it's a book or a film. Am I going to get in everybody by the date I've set? You know, it's not always crucial to get that last date, but you know, I like to have a date so I can just say, right, I can actually now do the fine tuning of it. You know, get everything in the fine tuning to get it all sorted. You know.
Yeah, no, agree.
Yeah, with my films, as I said before, I edit as I go along. As each one comes in, I edit it, and I try to find. In past ones, it's different with the voices of one, but in past ones, I've got to try and find a poem that will suit the reader, or a section of a poem, like we did with the Grinch and things, that will suit the person doing it. You know, you can't have a really snarly section with a really quiet poet doing it. You know, you've got to get the one, try and find the right one for the right poem or right section they've got to do, you know.
Yeah,
Which
no, good.
I've been lucky with that so far. It's worked.
Good man, good man. Good luck with me straight away with that. So keep me
Yeah.
informed. So okay, where can people get hold of your books then?
Well, the books are all available just through Amazon. Just look up my name on Amazon, Finn Hall, and you'll find them. There's the book before last, which is Poems from the End of the World. It's also available through lulu.com. But all the other ones on Amazon, and this one, 1800 Years in the Making, it'll be out sometime in the next month or so. Anyway, I haven't decided. I don't want to put out too soon behind United States of America, because it just came out last week, and I want to give enough people time to breathe in that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you do. If you bang them all out week after week, you can overdo it sometimes, I think. So, wise move, mate.
yeah, you don't want to do that too much, you
No,
know.
agreed. Where can people get hold of you then if they want to chat to you further about appearing on Blot and the Blue, for example?
You can just find me on my Facebook page, Finn Hall, Instagram Finn Hall 14, YouTube's the same, or like a Blot from the Blue Facebook page, and find me through there. Because it all gets put on that. You can find me there. I say Insta and YouTube and Facebook. That's it. I don't do threads or.
Oh, don't worry. I've never got my head around Fred, so I won't sign up on it. So
I signed up for TikTok, and I think I put one thing in. I just don't see the point of it. So
point indeed. So it's one of the things I need to put more of my novel, but yeah, may do it some point in the future. May not, mate. So right, anyway, listen, let's take a break for a minute, mate. Let you get composed to get a couple of pieces ready for us. Been brilliant, mate. We shall see you in 2 moments.